Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Free Range, and we are with Scott Lemrill. And we have so much to go through and so much to do that I hope you enjoy our session. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Gail. Yeah, we just went off a private session, which I wish I could do for everyone on Earth, but that's quite impossible. Probably I'm doing these private sessions with people that are making a co-create a big difference in the way helping to transform this planet with massive numbers of very free from subconscious mind beings that are not from Earth. This is what we do. They go on these journeys with us both to contribute, to protect us, and also to learn, to grow. Because I go in places and spaces that most of the beings in the Galactic Alliance have not gone. So they're going into the higher worlds above the void often, and then telepathically sharing that with millions, billions of others to help make this transformation in the lower dimensions, particularly the physical universe, under to take place more efficiently. That's how this works to a large degree. Everyone and everything is connected, whether they like to believe it or not, or understand it or not. Because all the universe, the entire multidimensional universe, is created by Atmas. That's why planets and moons and suns are round, because they're patterned after what we really look like, which is not this. This was never made in the image of some supreme being somewhere. No. These are bodies that over many, even several billion years, were developed by very high, I don't like to use the word spiritual because it's so misunderstood on Earth.
Yeah.
By very advanced beings, master adepts I would call them, who are scientists that develop higher genetic forms like double, quadruple, 12-stranded DNA, different types of races that were developed genetically with higher DNA capability to handle the transmission and reception of the higher faculties of awareness of the Atma that runs those bodies. That's why these were developed like this. Human beings on Earth have been significantly tampered with. Genomes on the DNA shut off that we used to call junk DNA, and they know it's just DNA that's turned off. Like the one that says, I live 1,000 years with no disease. Well, that's down to, well, you'll live maybe 80, and you won't remember nothing. You know, it's going to be like 80 years, and you'll be vulnerable to the negativity in the environment you're in. That's just shutting down a genome, one on the DNA, turning off like a switch, because they're operated by precise frequencies. Scientists from other worlds that understand those frequencies can manipulate DNA. In fact, you just went through an experience like that on a planet Oceania in a science lab where they actually can give you the experience of changing your matter of a form so you can breathe under land, on land or underwater like Oceanian people do. We have the same human genomes as them, and they have a few different, so that they have little slight gill slits under their neck. They're very unobtrusive. You wouldn't notice they were there unless they lifted their neck. And they have little webs between their fingers and hands and pointed ears like elves and pale, beautiful blue skin like moonstone. Beautiful, radiant eyes, slightly larger than humans on Earth, but beautiful. They're telepathic. They have photographic memories. They're very advanced. So we went there. For the radio show, don't know where we're going yet.
We'll think about
it. But this isn't for entertainment. If anybody thinks that, they might as well go eat a hamburger. Do something different. Don't waste anybody's time. Because these things that I'm doing, they're not for entertainment. They're for helping people telepathically connect with what they've been made to forget. Period. This means that people on Earth have been made to forget almost everything. What they are as a being, what its relationship is to the source behind all life, everything. They don't know how they got here. They don't remember how they come to be in a human body with no memory, growing up on a planet full of people with no memory. And they just say, well, it's got to be God's will. I had a contract. I came here and this and that, make themselves feel better. This is all they have to rely on in this society on this planet for now. They drop those kinds of illusions when real direct knowing returns to them. Knowing has nothing to do with speculation and theory, doubt, and fear. It doesn't even mix. The qualities, the higher nature of the higher faculties of the Atma, which we call soul on earth, which is spherical and has a shape and structure, does not work with any negative emotions whatsoever. None. So what we really are does not work with fear and doubt, speculation, and fear of the future, fear of death, and all that stuff. Those are artificial programs created by tyrants in real galactic history that were imposed on certain people that were captured, and they ended up one way or another on this planet with no memory, reincarnating here often over and over again, each time with no memory. That's what a real implant is. It's not in the skin or in the brain. A spherical form that runs this body, it's in an energy field around it with distorted images through which it looks into the multiverse to see things. And when it tries to discover or recover what it knew before it was captured and tortured and killed and stuffed in a body on Earth with no permission of your own, then it carries with it the program of misdirection and terror. So when you try to find out who you are, you don't see what's been programmed there as far as the images and sound, but you feel it. And it's the feeling that plays on the nervous system of a human being on Earth. So they steer you away from ever uncovering that, because the basic primary implant says, if you discover who you are, we'll kill you again like this. And that they can't do anymore, but the program's there. So a person has to realize after a while to overcome, courageously overcome such programmings by ignoring them, by working with the new ray and the hue, the omnipresent first sound behind creation, which telepathically connects each individual into the center of that white core of their being, and then into the center itself from where you came, far above the void known to Buddhist monks, which is our original place, our origins as beings. Once you do that and begin that process, it's like a fail-safe. The telepathic link into the pure energy, the living energy of this omnipresent force, which is not made of lower plane energy, it's not positive and negative. That begins to take charge in your life. And you co-create that with the source to recover your own freedom, to remember who you are, to turn on your higher faculties, which takes some work to exercise dormant faculties you haven't used for, some cases, 500,000 years of lifetimes. The real problem started in this galaxy 500,000 years ago, during and at the end of a great war. The misuse of extraterrestrial science by tyrants was originally used by capturing a human world back then that had scientists that had developed the technology to keep any being from ever acquiring a subconscious mind. If it's subconscious, you are not consciously aware of it. And that is where tyrants work. In an energy field that you're not conscious of, to manipulate how you feel about things, mostly how you feel about things. It's the feeling which misdirects the person's attention away from remembering and covering who they are. And it's negative, artificially created negative emotions. A normal Atma does not have or deal with negative emotions of any kind. They are not part of normal human nature. Hue, man, nature. Hue, woman, H-U, woman. Hue, it's just lost on people on Earth. It's hidden in plain sight and they don't even know what it is when it's staring them in the face. Because if they did, they'd start using it and they'd come out of this trap. What's going on now off-world and behind the scenes here with governments and people is the benevolent, beneficial, uplifting, changing energy that's assisting them to co-creatively stop being tyrants. Because they were manipulated to be that way. It was not their free will choice. Was not. Don't think that it was, that people are inherently evil. They have to be seriously messed with to become negative and tyrannical, which means they will suppress, kill, or do whatever they can to all beings because they believe if they don't, it'll be done to them first. That is the thinking of a tyrant of any nature. It's incorrect thinking, And it's based on past experiences that happened a long time ago, and they're living it out every day, over and over again. So when I think about government people and classified people on this planet, I really don't hold them at fault for some of the things they've done, because what was done to them was done more severely than was done to the rest of the people on this planet, because they are the leaders. They're the ones in control of money and power and blah, blah, blah. So it really, to fix this problem on Earth, people right now are busy throwing stones at all the wrong people. They're ignorant. I mean, they're dumbed down to where they throw stones at whatever comes up they think should be thrown a stone at. It could be a president, could be anybody. But the real controllers of this planet aren't part of the regular elected government. They aren't public figures. At least you wouldn't know them as such. So this is where the problem is. The whole thing has to be changed, or none of it will. Not just on this planet, but out there as well. Okay.
Wow.
See, I can hear the phone going off in the other room. Someone trying to call and interrupt what we're doing. I won't answer it.
Okay.
Okay. First thing that anybody needs to do on this planet, as far as we're concerned, meaning myself and associates from other worlds and other dimensional realities who are not from Earth, who have never been trapped on this Earth, who do not have subconscious minds, who are telepathic, like all of us are, only most of us don't remember that we are. So people on Earth will call that intuition, a nudge, a hunch. But this is not the nature of it. We're actually telepathic, but have been, some genomes turned off that limit that ability, but more importantly, the implant around the Atma itself, which occurred to that being, where lost a body in a horrible way, before they found themselves on this planet, is what keeps a person from really recovering their higher faculties. They're still there, nobody's lost them. But they do need to be recovered. A person needs to exercise certain things in order to recover confident, stable use of them. And this has to do with how you use your creative imagination. Simple. If you imagine a fear of the future, nuclear war, and you go out and work and you want to have a great life for your own family, it splits the Atma in half. Energies are running out into the universe, two opposing forces, telling this omnipresent force, which is a co-creator with us, by the way, what people call the Supreme Being. And they're telling it to create this terrible negative thing and this positive thing at the same time, which it will do. And then it grounds the two. They short each other out. A person gets grounded to the earth and makes no progress. Because the right use of the creative imagination, which is not made up in the brain of a human being, it's nothing in it that can see or imagine anything in here. The spherical form of us that's running this body sees and imagines everything through its round form in any direction. We're multidimensional in nature. And so when you imagine anything, you're looking into the grand multidimensional universe and seeing it somewhere without even having a clue that's what you're doing. But that's actually what people are doing. They're like gods clothed in rags who think they're rag covered when they aren't even a body. That's the problem. They think in terms of wanting enlightenment and freedom for this, but not for what runs this, which is the source of who they are. A person doesn't have a soul. A human body thinking they're a body looking in the mirror, I'm a body, doesn't have a soul somewhere they don't know, that's tucked away, that, you know, they get to call on one day, something separate from themselves. No. That spherical form is the soul running this body. Until that incorrect thinking gets switched around, they're going to be off balance constantly throughout any lifetime. So getting that information across to people can be very helpful because they once knew it. even if they don't have any confidence with that now, somewhere in the back of their conscience, they know somewhere they knew this stuff. And something happened that made it so that they could not recall it, which means beings like us on Earth were once more highly evolved. It's not they're going to evolve higher in the future to be telepathic and levitate and all that. All of that was taken away from people one way or another before they found themselves on this Earth. First thing people need to come to grips with is something was done to them that was not God's will. It was not a contract they made. That's silly. I'll give you an example. Here you are standing before what you think the supreme being is, right? Some big guy in a throne somewhere, big staff or something. And he says, thou shalt go worship me, and you shall go to earth with no memory, because I'm doing it for your own good, because you don't want to remember all that bad stuff. And then you'll get it right the next life. Now go right along, get in a body, and forget everything. That's a tyrant pretending to be the source, controlling people, the energy of an Atma. They can't destroy an Atma or harm it. Even a hydrogen bomb would do that, but they can trick it into using its imagination to trap itself. And they can use the energy that way. So that's the first thing people need to understand. They did not come to this earth voluntarily with no memory, dumber than a brick. No. They have this great potential to co-create with the source behind all life, and that is the true destiny and nature of all beings, not just human. This little cat on the bed has an Atma, just like me, running it, or it wouldn't even move. It's a mechanical device, a kind of a genetic machine that has to have the charge from the Atma itself from its white core to turn this on, or it just sits there. The quicker you realize that, anybody, the better off they're going to be in every way. Because as long as they think they're a physical genetic body, they're making huge mistakes in judgment in every single direction. They aren't. So that's the first thing I discuss in exploring the sessions.
That's big.
Because if they don't get that one, they're not going to make much progress anywhere else. The only way you can change the way your reality is on any world system in any dimension, become multidimensional again, is to understand the real truth about what happened to you. Not the faith, not the illusion you were taught growing up, all this fantasy about God's will and you got to worship it or it sends a lightning bolt in your ass or you go to hell and all that crap. That was created on this planet by tyrant royal family blood kings controlling priests to control people. Simple as that. Worldwide. None of the religions that are on this planet originated here. And their form was brought here by tyrants. They would bring slaves here under treaty on small areas of Earth and establish mining colonies for space-based materials. And then they would leave their slaves or kill them when they left. That's what's ended up populating this planet genetically, with certain genomes shut down because they want to suppress the people they can. And no memory. If a reptilian lives 800 years and a normal human lives at least 1,000, you want to shut that down so you can dominate an actual more advanced race. None of those beings are on this planet anymore manipulating anything. They've been kicked out of here, sent home, not killed. This solar system and this Earth are quarantined. There is an energy field and guardians of people around it, very highly advanced, benevolent world systems, and are not going to allow people from Earth to go out and play among the stars the way we are, because we are dangerous lunatics, misdirected in fear and negative ways from subconscious programs we don't even know we have, most people, nearly everyone. So that is not going to be tolerated, to go outside in reverse engineered spaceships or anything else. Ultimately, you're not going to take a classified lying system of abuse and deception from all the countries on Earth out into space, exploring the stars and playing the universe the way we are here now. That will never be allowed, ever. So you see people that have this stuff going on here that think there's a future for that. Most of them know better now. There isn't. There just is, there is not going to be any way that the more advanced races, which makes up the majority of those outside of Earth in our galaxy alone, the physical universe, in just this parallel dimension we're used to, there's not going to be any way they're going to allow lunatics like that to go out there with radioactive warp cores and nuclear bombs and get them out there with this fear-based consciousness and go out and try to, what, steal planets and resources from people who are far more advanced. So look out, you're going to get your ass kicked. Big time. And they're kind races, but they're not going to tolerate that crap. They're just not. I mean, I'm in touch with them all the time. They're not going to put up with that stuff. As it is, they stopped the abduction of little grays decades ago on this planet. People are still talking about it as if it's happening. It isn't. A lot has changed that's been unexpected. It is not a benevolent run world system yet, but it's destined to be that way. And it's coming this way. So make no mistake about that. We are in for a change no one's going to see coming. Fortunately, because beings in massive numbers have decided to make this change here. Why? Because people on Earth, it was realized, are not operating from true free will. You cannot let 7.5 billion people, whatever the number is on this planet, decide to annihilate themselves or go out in space and shoot first and ask questions later kind of thinking. Run amok because it's not free will that's guiding. It's misdirected subconscious implant programs, negative programs put in people that aren't even here anymore. And so you got a planet run by a bunch of misdirected negative programs that would destroy themselves without outside interference or intervention. We just would, period. So we haven't destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons because they've been stopped every time they tried it from outside this Earth. Very highly classified. All that people that are in these systems need to do at some point is come to the realization that, number one, they know there are forces out there that are in our solar system, that this is quarantine, and they know that they're kind, and they know that they haven't targeted any of these misrepresentative, abusive political leaders, the ones hidden behind them. They're not being killed, but something's underway that their technology and a level of evolution cannot prevent or change or alter. And it's not meant for anybody's harm, but it is meant for consciousness change. Because if this Earth is going to become an invited member to play in a grand galactic alliance of world systems, it has to operate in honesty and truth without all these controls and tyrant natures, because they don't tolerate it. Not for an instant. Most of the world systems out there do not use any form of money, for one thing. Because only tyrants create it to control and brainwash people, to get them used to it and then threaten to take it away, and you control them. There's no value to it. There's no gold behind it, nothing. They make toilet paper out of the same thing they make money with nice legal tender for debts, public and private. Well, is there any gold behind that, anything? No. We're just telling you it's legal tender, so use it. Well, can I use this toilet paper? No, it doesn't have artificial ink on it. That's what it is. And this is the kind of world where even the highest leaders are brainwashed to it, who have convinced themselves it's real when even they know it isn't. And so it just perpetuates the same madness. What are we going to go out into space, meet some Pleiadians, and ask them if we can give them some of our green paper with ink on it for some of their spaceships? I don't think that's going to fly.
I don't think so either.
That's not worth anything. What about trade? You want some water? We got a lot of that. Nah, we got a lot of water out there. We don't need that. Ooh, gee, you want some plutonium? No, we don't use it. It's illegal. Well, how about a nuclear hydrogen bomb? No, they're banned too. Well, what do you want? We want you to be co-creators with us in a benevolent way. Then we'll give you all the technology and end disease, no problem. But until you do that, you're stuck. You're quarantined. Dangerous people from Earth. To people from outside that have no subconscious minds, because we're not supposed to have one, we look like a planet full of insane lunatics running around, screaming at each other, just nuts, crazy.
somehow we have to dissolve these implants that are around the Atma that are misdirecting it.
But you can't do that if you're not conscious it was ever done to you. Your co-creative frill as a, I don't want to use the word divine, but as a being from the source, this white core that's in this sphere that makes up the Atma and all its levels of color, the teardrop shapes that are all different faculties, it does not and is not designed to work with any form of negativity. Of itself, it is not made of positive and negative energies from the lower dimensions. It is not Maya, it's not illusion. It's energy, but not what people understand in the lower worlds. It can't be destroyed by lower technology of any kind, or beings in and out of bodies, or demons, or anything else. It never has been able to be harmed in that way. It comes from the source far above the void that most Buddhist monks think. They think that's the end. Many of them. There are many higher dimensions beyond that. It's a barrier between the upper worlds, which are pure positive, no cause and effect, no negativity whatsoever, no negative emotions, and what's created in the lower worlds that has positive and negative strings woven around each other to create form in those lower dimensions. It was never really meant to run through the core of a being. And that's what's happened to the Purushas, or the rulers of the lower dimensions. It runs right through their core, so they have two faces, good and bad. You can't trust them because they'll stick you to you every chance they get. They want to stay on pedestals and be worshipped. That has nothing to do with the source beyond all life itself. It has nothing to do with it. It just supports everything. This is an experiment to see what Atmas in bodies will do with it. The Say rays, who are these mighty human beings, 18, 25 feet tall, lived in other worlds, and they didn't evolve in our galaxy, not even 5 galaxies from here, billions of years ago, and came here and did scientific research kind of on a spiritual level, created higher DNA forms and developed them so that the Atma could run higher faculties, get memory through and use higher faculties through a form made of the matter in a particular dimension so that they could have tactile sensation and communication with energies and beings in that reality. So it's supposed to be an extension of the Atma that you run, made of the matter in that plane with eyes and ears that can see, so you can communicate with beings there. Because those beings can't see this. And it can't communicate directly with them unless you can get those beings out of those bodies in those shut down planes and talk with each other.
Wow.
It's that kind of thing. So the energy that makes up each one of us doesn't come from the lower dimensions. Astral, physical, astral, causal, mental, and all the subplanes, 144 parallel dimensions in each one. It's a number. It's not infinite and forever, like quantum physicists think. There's a set number to it. Doesn't deny quantum physics. It's just that they're thinking about it as an unlimited thing. But creation is not forever, everywhere, all the time, on every dimension. There's billions of possible second me's and you's, and just no one could run a system like that. There's no, something like that could not have a core system or sets of beings keeping everything in order. And everything is in order in the multidimensional universe. Doorways between dimensions are guarded and run by the mechanics of the universe that are so busy doing that they don't have time to deal with individual beings like us. And they run galaxies spinning on their axis, and all the galaxies out there, and all the dimensional levels, and all the doorways between them. They're all like transmitters. They're all like transformers, taking a higher field of energy and transmitting it down to a lower molecular frequency to keep alive all these levels. We're supposed to be creating new ways of doing things as beings with the source in those lower levels to make them mirrors of the upper worlds. Now that was how it started out, and that is a failed experiment. The experiment of evil is being retired
Thank
in
God.
all lower dimensions because it just ends up being so effective. Beings get attached, they get trapped in things, they forget. Beings abuse technologies to trap beings and hoodwink them. It's a whole thing. If people understood the real history of this planet, going back 55 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct, there have been cultures and things that have come and gone on this planet in that time that nobody even has any understanding of. And then galactic history out there. how beings were brought to this planet when it was ready for life. They did not evolve on this planet from Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, or from amoebas and fish. And no, human beings were in this form were brought to this level by the Sea rays 1 billion years ago out in the galaxies, and then brought them up to spacefaring race. Reptilians and grays and whites, all of them, all have some form of human connection and DNA in them, and other alien things. But these are just body forms that Atmas get into experiment to have experience. They weren't supposed to be unconsciously trapped in them. Forget everything. And then they backed off and left and just kind of left it up to us to see what we do with it all. And everybody knows what we've done with it all. It's like a catastrophe, really. So they come back and they represent higher sources from the source. And they're bringing about the introduction of some changes in the way things are run down here so that beings can actually do what they were originally sent to do. Co-create the lower dimensions in a way that's a mirror of the upper worlds where there's no negativity. That means something had to be brought into creation from up there and brought down here that nobody expected, that will retire evil as an experiment by replacing it with something that actually works to get people co-creating properly. Like, we're meant to be co-creators trusted with this source. Somebody's got to run a galaxy and planets and solar systems. Who do you think does that? They don't just run themselves. I think there are no beings behind running gravitational fields and stars and everything centered and moved. See, that's where everybody falls down on Earth in this way. They don't understand the nature of the Atma and what it's capable of. If they did, they would know they have a very grand destiny and eternity themselves. To get that, you got to wake it up. You got to start operating as an Atma, not a body. There's nothing wrong with bodies or kids or marriage. But if people on Earth were doing this with conscious awareness of who they are as an Atma running that body, and the kids they say they have contracts with, and they were conscious, then you'd be like other world systems, where kids are brought up with benevolent governments, knowing confidently how to leave their bodies at will from birth, and carrying that into adulthood, and knowing the nature of the grand multidimensional creation without the need of faith or illusion or the control of tyrants. They know. So they don't think about co-creating on their worlds, hundreds and hundreds of millions of them, to ever take over or harm another race or dominate anyone. They share. They're motivated from birth to create new ways of doing things for the benefit of all the alliance worlds. It's not a federation like Star Trek. It's called, in English terms, the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. It is interdimensional. Because in the physical universe, there's 144 parallel dimensions before you get to a barrier and it gets into the astral level, and that's made of even finer matter. The Atma is running a body in each one. It doesn't even know it on Earth. There's no recollection. To get experience on the emotional, astral, causal, causation, mental, and the etheric, which is a barrier between what's beyond the void and the lower worlds, and have that all working together consciously. That's how it's supposed to be. So there's a lot people have been made to forget the nature of being, the nature of the different body forms are running on different dimensions where the molecular time rate is different and they're separated, they do not mix. And you go from one to another as an Atma and you see the lives you're living, it starts to make sense then, for the first time. Okay, let's go on a little journey. There's enough information provided if you're looking at as entertainment and information in this one session. A person could utilize that, go to the series agenda book, and I'll share these to you. These are what the proof copies were. This is the old series agenda book as it was first published. I'm sorry.
Got the emerald doorway, yeah.
This one back in 2013. I had to create that cover with no money or nothing by myself and get through the process of publishing this book, which was quite a feat. Typos in it. At that time, there was no special technique section in the back of this book. There's 53 pages in there that have special techniques designed for the prologue and all 29 chapters. that deal with deliberately hidden truth revealed on other worlds and other realities, and even Earth in its ancient history. This is the new book just published in a larger size with a new cover, which depicts a scene. Mark Sanfield goes to this mile-long cylindrical ship permanently stationed in our ice rings of Saturn in our solar system. And these are scout class craft about 30 feet wide, entering the central section hull of this double-ended ship. They don't go through launch bay doors. They raise their molecular time rate, go right through the metal hull, and then slow it down, and then appear solid and land inside. The bridge control on the front of that, there's one identical on the other side. That's the planet Saturn. It's stationed in the ice rings in the solar system. This is not a ship that can be interfered with or attacked by anything from Earth or any race anywhere. It's shielded. And you can't mess with this, okay? And it's stationed there for the good of all life on Earth and this solar system. It's partially connected to other craft outside the solar system, which makes the system quarantined.
And that is part there now as we speak.
Right. That's correct. I had a great dilemma when I published this book. Should I publish it as fiction or nonfiction? If I publish it as nonfiction, everybody would want a spaceship ride, whether they deserve one or not. They'd want me to prove it.
I'll tell you what, that is a great book. I couldn't put it down, and I'd like our audience to know that, because once you start reading it, it's hard to put down.
I'm not doing this for money. I've spent far more money on getting these to this level since 2013 than I've ever made. I don't even charge for these radio shows or these private sessions. There's no money involved. No. You say, what? How can you do that? Well, it's a long story. Here's the original Emerald Doorway. Nice cover. Light ship. Ship going around Earth. Ancient Lemurian symbol pointing to the Yucatan. There's a reason for that. This is the new cover in the new book.
I love that cover.
Those are characters in the Emerald Doorway, first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. That is Etta. He is a Dren. 3 feet long, looks kind of like a salamander, but man, he's got dexterous hands and feet like a human. His tail glows like bright opal in sunlight. And he's a silica-based creature from another world, telepathic, has vocal cords, loves his wife and kids more than humans on Earth understand. He's not human, but an Atma runs him. When you look up and see what's above that, that is what an Atma really looks like. You, soul. It isn't the physical body that it runs. And this is a scene in the book from the ancient one who comes from the 5th dimensional realm, the first realm above the void known to most Buddhists, to be introduced to these Melina, who's got Oceanan, blue skin, Calum, part of the Galactic Alliance, and this Master Adept carrying a crystal staff. It's golden lit, and it's a device. They're hovering on anti-gravitic discs outside the ship, which is stationed up here, floating in the atmosphere. They came out of that to float on this. This is after the poles of Earth change, 100,000 years ago, destroying the continents of Lemuria and Atlantis, which was a big continent, 2/3 its size, centered over the equator. Because in this reality you're used to, the poles flip every 100,000 years. You do not survive it. Fortunately, one of the things introduced in my work is that the flipping of this planet's poles have been permanently suspended. No more Golden Age to Iron Age for this planet. Its prophesied destructive destiny has been altered for the first time. So what's underway now cannot be reversed, and this planet's going to take its place among the stars, but not until it's run properly. And that makes a lot of waking up coming this way. Okay, those are all scenes from the book. The designer, these were not inexpensive. The designer of these, along with me, very carefully guiding, created these covers, and on the back, there's an actual actor, because really good book covers have real actors in suits dressed up to portray what's on the covers. It's not cheap. These are real actors in suits, costumes. This is the bad guy, Sender. He's got one of 3 crystals. It's a powerful device, and his aim is to control the Earth. All right, so that's where all that came from. Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to publish them as nonfiction, but I was consulted with beings from off-world. They said, don't do it. Tell people they're based on direct actual experiences and publish it as fiction so they can handle it better. Otherwise, you got problems, because I'm not here under authority to give people spaceship rides. There aren't enough spaceships in our galaxy to give 7.5 billion people a spaceship ride. These beings are tasked on serious missions to try to, in their efforts to keep this world from being destroyed. People will get their spaceship ride in time, but not until they're capable of being mature enough and awake enough to appreciate it and do something of constructive value in the process. Then it makes sense. This is what people don't understand. You know, there's people out there, I'm sure, that think if you smoke pot, ship from stars will come and land, smoke a joint with you. This will never happen, ever. They don't use that stuff. They don't carry it. They don't carry animal parts on their ship to eat. They don't eat animals. You don't have refrigerators on these ships. People don't understand how life really is on these other worlds. They only know what's perpetuated here. And it's nuts. So a lot has to change for people to play among the stars. The Earth is ready for it, but not the way it's being run now. It has to be honest and benevolent. At some point, there will be full disclosure on this planet, motivated within the beings who now control it. Because they're going to find out there's a way to do this without rioting in the streets. You're not going to be killed. No one's going to be blah, blah, blah. No. That's not how you change a planet on a planetary scale. Destruction is the art form of tyrants. Benevolent beings don't go about things that way. Pure and simple. So let me state that for everybody, and then they can do whatever they want with it. But I'm pretty certain that what I'm sharing with you now, they've never heard anywhere on the world, on the internet, or any place else this way. Because it has to do with what really happened to each of you before you found yourself on this planet with no memory. The only God's will that is some tyrant propping themselves up as the supreme being to trap you and keep you like a lunatic, reincarnating in bodies, thinking your bodies with no memory. That's not spiritual. That's entrapment. People think that if they get out of their bodies, that Satan will get them, or a devil. Fact is, they've already been got. They're here. You can't get any lower than here. There's only one way, and that's up in awareness from here. So I want to make that clear, because otherwise I'd be doing a great disservice for people. If I don't tell them the truth, then I'm telling them something else, aren't I? And the truth is hard to swallow for people on Earth because it's so contrary to everything they've been taught. It's so different. Their real destiny as a being is not to live in a body for 80 years and die like a little old prune and go to some heaven and come, they end up right back here again. The only thing a being takes with it, the spherical form, when this dies, is the consciousness they left it with. And if it's one of fear of the future and all this I don't know, that's what it takes with it. And that compels it to get in another body. You want to break that cycle. That's illusion. That's Maya, which means illusion. That's karma, reincarnation. There's no way you can keep reincarnating till you get perfect in the eyes of some God. It's positive and negative energy, and you built it around by both. As long as you're under the influence of both, you can never balance the two. Tyrants know that, you see. Okay, this message is, and what I do is for the benefit of all life. So if you'll get back and rested, like you did earlier, Gail.
I will.
If you want to go on a journey, or you can sit in the chair and do it. You know how to do it. We'll get everybody on a little journey out of the body. We're going to get this body in the trance state called sleep. Now, there's the thing you all need to know. Every one of you is an expert on leaving your body every night. You know how to put this body to sleep without even thinking about it. Oh, I'm going to go to sleep now. And there you're gone. And you identify with the body, so you go unconscious with it. Really what it is you're putting in the imagination before you sleep that you won't remember anything, that you're a body. So you go out, you have these magnificent journeys, playing in the universe in your higher body forms and as an Atma, and you come back out of conditioning from birth and you bring back nothing. It's the experiences are there stored in the being, but you got to start to wake that up if you want to bring it all here in this body through this consciousness, through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. It's a controlling mechanism through the rods and cones in it for running a body. The Atma gets into or leaves or is connected to the physical body through the pineal gland, the center of the brain. The brain doesn't imagine anything. The being that runs it does. Got to make this distinction or people are not going to get on the right track at all. Okay. So when you sit back comfortable in a chair or in a bed, you first want to take a couple of deep breaths and then breathe out and let the fear of the future and growing old, and disease and everything you've ever worried about, even if you're in suffering, for now, put it aside as artificial. Consider it just programs, negative, emotionally charged programs. Fear of the future, fear of death, fear of the planet Earth being destroyed in nuclear war, blah, blah, blah. Stick it aside. You could imagine it as little computer disks, or hard drives on your bed or around your room. And it says negative fear and terror, artificial. Put it all in there. Because we don't want to take that with us. When we're going to put these bodies in the trance state called sleep, we don't want any of that negative stuff influencing what you experience. Because we're going to go out consciously when you put the body in the trance state. That's the difference in the way this happens, the way I go about this. Okay. Once you've done that, you feel kind of relaxed. Remember that you do this every night anyway. You go out of your body, every single being on this planet, including animals, all have Atmas running them, gaining experience. It's not about bodies. It's about what the Atma knows as a being, a spherical being, okay? Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life, person, place, or thing, but something when you imagine it makes you smile inside. This opens or turns on a certain function in the pineal gland, turns on certain rods and cones like you have in your eyes, but these are set to other dimensional frequencies. And you can open a door, telepathically connect the Atma that's running this body, the white core, into an omnipresent field of energy, the first sound behind creation, which is not positive and negative, but runs through the lower dimensions to support them. It is not positive and negative. It came before they were created. And so did all of us as the being. The Atma is not and did not come into existence in time and space. It is not relative to the age of bodies and lifetimes. You can't even compare it that way. When I begin these tones, I will send out these tones in successively higher pitches. Why? Because it's a telepathic function that raises the vibration and helps you to turn off the effect of primary subconscious programs that keep you from knowing who you are. Turns them off temporarily. And in the process, people gain greater experience about how to be master over what was done to you, despite what was done to you, until you can have mastery over all forms of negativity, negative beings in and out of bodies or technology, which each Atma actually has, once it recovers the knowing confidence of it. It's just that simple, really. I'll begin these tones now. You. 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 You'll be aware of your body, but it's in the trance state called sleep, or it should be, or it can be. All you have to do is agree to it creatively, of free will. And you'll listen to my voice, and I'm going to go on a little journey with everyone. When you daydream or imagine you're by a beautiful waterfall, or you see a hummingbird, or you see the beach or the stars at night laying in a sleeping bag by a river, it is not the brain in any way, shape, or form that is seeing or imagining any of that. The human brain is not designed for that purpose. It doesn't have a photographic camera, a film camera, and a screen to project what you see. What people don't know on Earth is that they, the real being running that body, as a spherical form of energy, is seeing it somewhere in creation. It's either distorted from subconscious fear, or it's clear. Sometimes people will have dreams of being under the worlds, or flying out of their body through the atmosphere. That takes place in the astral plane, the next major division up from the physical. And they have a life they're living there, but they're not aware of it. So they bring back a little experience of when they went and visited that form they have there, and they came back with a memory of it. It's trying to get through the physical consciousness that you're living on multiple dimensions as a single entity. That's what those dreams are for. But unfortunately, you don't get anything on Earth for the most part that will take it from your experience when you wake up in the morning into recovering full awareness of this. There are subconscious, artificially created negative emotional programs that get in the way of beings doing this on Earth. Any fear, any dread of the future will turn on a primary program, and it will affect the nervous system in an emotionally negative way. You don't see or hear what's in it because those two things in the recording are occluded. You just feel the terror. And that's what misdirects people's decision making to go away from discovering and awakening who they are. It's just that simple. The more you're aware this is what's going on, the more mastery and control you have over such a program. Tyrants were never true when they tried to force a belief into you that this was permanent, and they will always come and do it to you again if you wake up. That's just a control mechanism. Nothing could be further from the truth. You start to get control of this stuff, and it's one-way ticket. It's irreversible. Through the hue, you begin to recover who you are. It was set up in eternity. It's a fail-safe in a sense. Now there's a new ray that runs through this omnipresent field of force that is in this void of space, connecting all things together, all dimensions, all beings, all reality. And it's a consciousness that's moving to retire evil as an experiment in the lower dimensions. Not going to destroy anything or flip over the poles of Earth anymore. That doesn't work. I need to get beings to be free of its influences so that they can become what they were meant to be, conscious of free will, trusted co-workers, co-creators with the source behind and supporting all life. Because we, as drops of pure water in a mighty ocean of this pure water, are comprised of exactly the same energy as that source on a smaller scale, with the same faculties of creation. We're meant to collectively work together for the uplifting benefit of all life in the higher worlds and in the lower worlds, not just selfishly for life on our planet or our own families, for all life. This is the way, unbeknownst to people on Earth, that most beings operate in the galaxy today. Most, not all. See yourself above your body, as easy as you can imagine walking on the shore, as a spherical form of light. It has a structure. It has a white core. It has different layers of light that extend around it, comprised of layers from white to orange to red, white to yellow to orange to red, to green to blue to lavender to violet, with a golden energy field around it, and it floats there. It is not made of electrons and protons and neutrons. It does not fit into the law of physics, not even quantum physics, except when a quantum physicist looks at the quantum as being relative to some plane of energy that is not made of atoms. That which is behind all that is atomic in nature is not atomic in nature. So you imagine being above your body, looking out in every direction from the white core of your being, and you look down and see your body sitting there with the eyes closed, maybe lying on a couch, sitting in a chair. That body is in the trance state we call sleep, the same place you put it in at night when you go to bed, except you're being conscious in the process. You look up and you find yourself hovering above your city, wherever you are, 5,000 feet in the atmosphere as this form of light. And you'll see there are many other beings surrounding us who look just like us. When you look at them and concentrate on them in this form, it's telepathic. You can see what they look like in the physical form they have stationed somewhere. Tirellian is 18 feet tall. He's Ceres. This is a race that seeded all types of humanoid bodies like this throughout the galaxies in the physical and astral dimensions a long time ago, got them up to spacefaring capability, and then disappeared to see what we would do with it. And we know what we've done with it. It's been a catastrophe. So they've recently been returning because something happened that changed their consciousness to get involved again, to begin to retire this evil experiment, this thing we call evil as an experiment, because it's failed, doesn't work. And it never did. It was designed to cattle prod people to be motivated to be co-creators with the source behind all life. And we all thought it was a great idea at one time. And what I'm saying is, yes, the being that's you, that's not the body, was there at the beginning. So we can't blame anyone else or point a finger at Satan or anybody else or some demon from another planet and say it's all their fault, because we were involved. One of the hardest things it is for each individual being to do is accept responsibility for eternity. Because if we gripe about evil, you won't change a thing. But if we work collectively co-creative to change the way things are, from the highest levels down through the galaxies to Earth, then everything can change. You see yourself floating in the atmosphere above your body, wherever you live, and there's Tirellian. When you look at this little bit brighter Atma than us, he's quite ancient, you see a form standing in front of it, looks to be 18 foot tall, with long blonde hair, big blue eyes, bigger than those of a human, but beautiful, slightly pointed ears under his long blonde hair, dressed in sandals and simple tunic, like a Greek god. He's very kind, a great friend. He's not here to harm anyone on Earth. You're going to see Galactic Alliance, Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Will personnel hovering out of their bodies next to us as friends to go on this journey. On ships stationed around the Earth in our solar system, there are 4 couples on each of the 30-foot ships. One couple is sitting in the back of the ship in the trance state called sleep, but they've left their body and they're joining us for this journey, both to help us stay unaffected by negative emotions and to also experience with us what we do and where we go. Because they're free beings and they will transmit what we experience telepathically to billions of people. It's a law of economy. It's very effective in getting things moving along more quickly, especially in the physical universe. And you'll see a man and a woman, you'll know that they are hovering nearby you. They're Atmas just like you. And they're friends. Probably you've crossed paths with this couple somewhere in your past, and you'll seem familiar to you. You won't have any fear. There's no threat here. None. Then you're going to look up in space, and you're going to see yourself hovering in space, the black void of space, above planet Earth, looking down on the polar ice caps. Everyone's seen shots of the shuttle or the Hubble telescope of Earth. Far enough from it, you see the polar ice caps, you see land, you see water, you don't see any fences between countries, no borders. And the moon, barren, does not turn on its axis, always faces the same way towards Earth as it revolves around the planet. And in the distance, our sun we call Sol. You are looking at a black void of space, but now as you look at it as the Atma from the white core of your being, you see that that black void isn't black at all. It's full of a white light with a golden tinge sparkling everywhere. It connects the Earth to the moon, to the sun, each of us to this primary, omnipresent, primordial field of energy, which is not positive or negative, that underlies all creation and extends from here up through the upper dimensions, past the void, into the upper worlds, to the source itself. And we have the ability to connect to that telepathically by knowing it's here. And when you send out a request, like what I'm going to share with you in the following manner, the beings that are free, that do not have subconscious minds, that were not born on this backward Earth, hear this. Their master teachers hear this. Tirellian hears this. Galactic Alliance personality across the galaxy will hear it. It is not limited by time and space. It's not limited by the speed of light. Dark holes and gravitational wells cannot affect the rate at which it moves, because it moves through a field of energy that is not nuclear in nature. Let's get that straight right now. I always do this myself. When I get into this and start communicating with such beings, and I'm out of my body as I am now, running it, talking to you, sometimes with the eyes open, sometimes closed, it's quite a feat to do this and guide other people at the same time, if you can imagine it. Tirellian's capable of being in 8 places simultaneously. Me, not so much, but I'm learning. And you can see from here, from this place in orbit above the planet, you don't need to breathe. Your energy, you're this core circular spherical being. You don't need to, and that oxygen, gravity, radiation, none of that affects you here. In your true form, none of that can affect you unless you believe it can. And then your imagination will send out to the omnipresent living underlying hue behind everything, the first sound, to co-create your own entrapment. We're meant to be gods that co-create wonderful ways of doing things in new experimental ways for the benefit of all life. And that is the true nature of the destiny of a single human being. They don't even know it. Okay, well, maybe they do now. You can see Tirellian hovering nearby, and we're kind of circling around him like stars around a galactic center. Not because he's superior, but because he serves to keep us focused in a journey that can be constructive and uplifting, beneficial. Then you're going to see out in space a whirling violet and green vortex open up, just like water whirling around an opening. opens right up in the fabric of space, and you see a tunnel leading off into the infinite distance. And you hear a sound like a humming of a million bees coming from it, and you're drawn to it. In the next instant, Turelian darts through, and all of us follow him. There are 36 other beings from other worlds and different dimensional realities, and some of their master teachers on this journey, this group journey, because it's the law of economy. We make it the most effective it can be for each journey we do, not just for people on Earth, but for all life. You're going to find yourself sailing down the middle of this tunnel as a sphere of light, perfectly free, harmed by nothing. And you see this transparent field of energy like water moving around you. You see way down at the end a kind of a light. And in the next instant, you're popping out the other side, and you find yourself floating above the ice rings that comprise the rings of the planet Saturn in our solar system. When you look behind you, you see 36 people, Tirelian, Shantial, Tonatial from the Galactic Alliance, a man and a woman hovering beside each of you. That's the form they imply to you. And you see this vortex behind you. Way in the distance, you can see Earth, and then it vanishes and disappears. Now you're in space above the planet Saturn. It has many moons, but you can see that down inside the ice rings, just below the upper layer, near the outer edge, is a long blue-gray metal cylindrical ship with a blue anti-magnetic type of field surrounding it. And it's floating there protected from the ice rings, some of them the size of a pebble, some of the size of a city. They're ice, water. And it's hovering there, stationed in our solar system for our benefit, even for the benefits of tyrants that they've had removed from this system. And you can see a number of ships approaching it, 6, 30 foot across. They have 3 semi-spheric pods in the bottom of their hull and a kind of a clear blue colored dome on top. And they're moving towards the central section of this ship, and we're moving with them, behind them, watching where they go. And you can see one approaches the midsection of the hull. Along the hull are all these 6 foot long, 3 foot wide, something like that, clear observation windows just above the middle section of the equator of the ship, and they run all the way down its length and around the other side. And we're going to hop over the backside of this ship towards the planet's core, more and deep in the ice rings, and look, and you'll see there's a bridge control windows right there, like you find on the front side of the ship. And you watch one of these ships approach the hull, and then you see it becomes transparent. And then it moves right through the hull at a higher molecular time rate, so it can move right through the matter of the hull. And then you see it turn back solid once it's inside this huge hangar bay, and it comes down and lands on 3 extended legs next to several dozen in parallel rows, along what looks to be like a conveyor belt moving from one triangular opening on one end of the launch bay to a triangular opening on the other. This is an Emerald Star cruiser of the Galactic Alliance, Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, comprised of more than 450 million spacefaring races on multiple dimensions within the physical universe, not astral. And it's hovering there. We're going to go in with one of these ships. As it turns transparent, the next one goes in. We're going to move right through the hull with it. We're inside this hangar bay, looking at these large semi-spherical lights lining the top of the ceiling. And we're going to move as Atmas, as beings, down above this conveyor and move through this left triangular opening, golden lit walls, and come right through it. And you're going to go down a hallway, and as you do, you're going to begin to feel feet below your being. Now you're going to feel a form take form like a physical body on Earth. It's energy, but it looks like you. And the beings we're going to meet will see it as such. They will see you, the Atma, above this form, but they'll also see this form. These are normal human beings and humanoid beings from other planets who work in harmony with each other. And as you turn left in another triangle open, you're to come into a long observation chamber. And you can see these horizontally placed oval windows, observation windows all the way down it, blue glass top tables and white egg-shaped chairs with cushions, and a man and a woman standing up behind this table and stepping out from under to greet us. They are human. They are the commanders of this ship, a man and a woman, co-commanders. And you can see hundreds of the ship's personnel standing around this huge, it's like a social meeting lounge kind of thing. And you can see beings that are personnel approach you. And the man and woman hovering beside you are part of their personnel that went on this trip. And they talk with you telepathically. And whoever approaches you on this cruise seems familiar to you. It could be a man or a woman or both. And you'll feel unthreatened and comfortable in their presence. You can hear a humming sound in the background vibrating through this ship. That's because there is a pyramid device in a central chamber that was manifested on this ship by the Sayres and beings beyond them not long ago, which brought about a change in consciousness for these Galactic Alliance people to get involved in such things as helping a world like Earth become unexpectedly transformed. They had to go through this change first because they were like, don't interfere, who cares what Earth does, you know? Until they started to realize that many of their own fellow citizens that were missing 500,000 years ago and never found are incarnating on Earth with no memory. They motivated them to try to get that corrected, of course. When this man or woman or both talk to you, know that you are an Atma form and you are telepathically talking back with them, just like I'm talking now, but you can hear it in your head or in the core of your being hovering above the body, and you vice versa. It's a plush blue carpet under your feet. You can go up if you want and look through one of these oval windows and see the ice rings of Saturn and some other galactic scout ships approaching this Emerald Star cruiser to land in the hangar bay. And you can see big ice rings and chunks all around the ship, and then up above a little higher, you see the black void of space and moons circling the planet. And then you see that white light with a golden tinge running through the supposed black void of space, connecting everything and everyone together. This husband and wife, commanders of this ship, are revealed in the Sayres agenda. Their names are. They're the same in the book. The book is entirely based on my direct experiences from about 3 years old onward, because of what happened to me then, from other lives in the Galactic Alliance and lives on other dimensional realities. I've been exploring all of them in countless ways for most of this lifetime on this planet. You can hear a little bit of the story of what happened to me, a few experiences I share at the Finland conference that I helped create and videotaped for all the presenters, some of them scientists. It was held a few years ago. So on the YouTube channel, you can see the Finland presentation. You can find it on the front page at the paralleltime.com website. paralleltime.com. They're free. There's no charge for this, for you to see this stuff or experience it. So I will leave that with you as consciousness aboard this galactic Emerald Star cruiser. It's a mile long. There are some 10 miles long. They're designed to travel between the galactic core and planets on the exterior, but they're also designed to travel between galaxies. Their shape and design is necessary to go through interdimensional doorways between great distances of space across a higher parallel dimension frequency, So they really go through an opening in a finer manner, come out another opening. When they come down, they're clear across the galaxy. It's quite really practical and amazing. There are ships 60 feet across or 100 feet across that look like a galactic scout, saucer shaped, that can get from Earth to, say, the Pleiades area and the stars beyond it, 500 light years from here, in about 7 hours or sooner, if needed. This is important for people to understand because they don't realize the universe they're living in. They have no clue on Earth yet, but they will. When you're sitting there, you're standing there on the blue carpet looking at this husband and wife team. I won't describe them. You can find out about them in the book. Or you can go into the Emerald Doorway and find out what the Galactic Alliance was like 100,000 years ago and what extraterrestrials were involved in Earth then, good and bad, and how it's kind of brought us to where we are now. Tirellian's pointing upward. So remember this experience, and from floating above the body you have here, in board this lounge meeting area, just stay here, but send the memory of the experience down through the form you have hovering in the atmosphere on Earth, down through the form you have hovering above the body, into the pineal gland in the brain, and out through your entire physical form, into the wall, through the walls, and out into the environment where you live. And let it flow freely through you. Tirellian's pointing upward. Thank everyone here. You're going to find yourself once again hovering above this ship, above the ice rings of Saturn in space, around Tirellian. Couples from the Galactic Alliance, one Shantiel and Tonaltiel, are near me. They moved over to Gale. They're talking with her and coming back. We're about to go on another journey. Tirellian points upward, and you see this water spout, blue-green, spiraling open, and you see a blue atmosphere far, far up. And we're going to dart up into this vortex opening from the physical universe near Saturn and sail up at a lightning speed, like blurs of light, till you come out the other side, hovering in a blue atmosphere. And then that vortex below your feet vanishes. And you're hovering in a blue atmosphere looking down on a very, very large, round continent with a white golden beach surrounding it, 360 degrees, floating in this blue atmosphere with 6 mountain peaks in a hexagon. And it goes down to blue-green forests, then down into grasslands and violet grass, and off down into jungle settings and out to the circumference of this landmass, which is suspended in this blue energy field. There are no suns, no moons, no stars here. This is in a plane just above the 5th plane of the Atma, as it's called, or soul, which exists beyond the void known to most Buddhist monks. There's no insult to them for me to say that. I'm simply sharing with them who do not know that there are vast planes of life above that void. And they're never going to get there if they're not aware they're there. They'll never imagine it. They'll never get there because the imagination is what we utilize to ride anywhere in creation. We have to send a visual image of where we want to go into this omnipresent field of force, and then it takes us there, or you don't go anywhere. Now you're floating in a blue atmosphere. You can breathe it in. You're a sphere, but you breathe it in. You feel like you're breathing it through lungs, and it passes through your white core, out the other side, and comes right back through you. This is the nature of this first sound beyond all creation in a blue form. And this is called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. When you look down at the peaks below your feet, in the center of them, 6 of them, in a valley, kind of a round bowl-shaped valley, is a lake with a white beach around it, and an island in the center of it, and a blue 4 foot by 2 foot or so high blue stone with gold laced into it, polished, and a cobalt blue sphere hovering about a half a foot above it, pulsing the blue light. Now that is a device that receives energy from higher planes and transforms it into lower ones in different ways. Many points in the lower dimensions, below the void, etheric, mental, causal, astral, and the physical worlds are connected from here. This is not good or bad. This is how the lower universes are kept floating, intact. There are beings called silent ones or silent mentors which run the mechanics of creation that you don't know about yet, but they are there. When you look down from the mountain peaks outside that little valley, you can see a blue glass tower about a third of the way down the mountainside in a clearing with white marble floor around it, several hundred feet across. The tower is smooth, transparent blue glass sides. It goes up, forms into a semi-flat sphere. It's transparent and goes up to a peak. And that's an administration area for this place. Beings from different world systems in the lower dimensions and their master teachers have teaching facilities here. And here's how this works. The white glass tower has white roadways running in every direction from it like spokes of a bicycle tire, perfectly straight. The roads go near the side of the mountain, through tunnels, come out the other side, and go straight to the other end of the beach on the other end of it, all around this floating landmass. And as you travel down this one road, we're going to go down and stand at the base on this white marble and look at this blue glass tower. It's many hundreds of feet up there. You go up and you just move your being into it, inside it. And you find yourself sucked up and you're floating in this administration area, hovering in front of a fountain. 3 concentric tiers of white marble surround it. You can stand or sit on them, but there's a white fountain, looks like white alabaster, sitting in the middle on a circular disc of white. It's on a blue kind of pedestal, and it's got serrated scalloped edges. And there's a shaft of white light with a gold tinge running up and down out the top of this tower into this fountain. It looks like water, luminous water, that flows over the edges and falls down an even crystalline sheet and disappears in the floor. This is the hue expansion ray within the omnipresent first sound of the hue. So move your being up to this fountain, up above it, and move right into this current. Let it run through you. It won't hurt the Atma at all. It's really the same energy that the core of the Atma is made of, but much more powerful. Here, you let this flow through your being, and you let this type of energy, a small thread of it, go all the way back down through the planes, through the Atma hovering above your body on Earth, and through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, out through your brain, out through your body, so you can retain the nature of how to think and visualize as a multidimensional being. Recover it, really. You can't stay here long, so move out of that being, and then feel feet forming under the Atma, and go up to the sides of the curved walls of this flattened sphere and look out over the countryside. You can see these white roadways going off in every direction, all the way to the beach. And if you look down them, as you go a little ways past the white marble floor, you'll see a right turn. And a little white roadway goes into a clearing, and one on the left, and one on the right, and one on the left, in every direction. And there are different domed and pyramidal and other crystalline structures in each of these roadways that teach people different things about being a co-creator with the source on every level. Find yourself floating outside this tower with Tirellian and myself and others, and we're going to fly over this white roadway all the way down to the white sand golden beach on the western coast. When you land, you feel your feet sinking down on this luminous golden white sand. And the energy goes up into the core of your being and brightens it. When you look at the ocean waves gently rolling to crash on this beach, you see that it's made of the same energy as the atmosphere, a little denser, so it appears like water. And we're going to sail out past this beach, feel your legs dissolving up into your being, and we're going to go out over that blue area until you see this whole continent fade into the distance and vanish. Now we're out into a vast area of blue energy. This is consciousness of eternity. Just float in it. When you look at the ocean below you, drop and fall like a stone right into it. Plunge into its depths. Go down several miles. You don't have to worry about breathing here. It's the same blue energy. And you can see there are life forms working underwater, what looks like water, in other teaching facilities here as well. One of them is from the planet Oceania, water covered. And the people, Opelum and Dom, have teaching facilities here. They are multidimensional. Just be aware of it. Then you're going to find yourself suddenly hovering above the entire U Expansion Ray Academy, looking down on those 6 snow-covered mountain peaks. And you hear the sound of a crystal bell. The little hammer hit it. Ting! And it rings. You feel the white core of your being light up, and the different colors, different teardrops in each one starting to turn on. And you look down right near the mountain peaks where that cobalt blue sphere is, and that valley with the water surrounding it, on a stand, and you see a vortex formed there that takes the place of that cobalt blue crystal sphere. And it's a white field of energy with gold light. It's the same one you experienced inside the blue tower in the fountain. And you're going to find yourself darting into it and being shot down into this vortex all the way back down until you find yourself hovering above Earth as you know it, the barren moon. There's Tirellian and me, Shantial, Tontial, several master teachers, 36 other people from the Alliance that have been chosen for this journey. So each man and woman surrounding each of you, very kind, wishing you the best. And then you see yourself hovering in the atmosphere above where you live. And you see us all there too. Then you see yourself hovering as a spherical form with a white core above your body on Earth, wherever you are. And you're sending the memory of this journey, quite multidimensional, into the physical consciousness of the person you're aware of you are on Earth. Then when you're ready, open your eyes.
That was an awesome experience.
Different than the private one you went on.
Yes.
You wanted to go to Oceania in specific. You want to make sure that your listening people at least get the experience of not only being out of their body, off Earth, but getting above where the negative and positive elements rule and being there for a little while can make all the difference in helping people recover who they are. So I will, with your permission, unless you have some questions, cease this recording so we can get it recorded and get it to you so you can get it up on YouTube.
Yes, I'm anxious to be able to do that. I think people can enjoy this and learn so much, get so much from it.
Thanks for having me on your show again, Gail.
Oh, thank you.
Create this because it's for the benefit of all life.
Yes.
That's the only reason I do it.
Brings tears to my eyes.
Well, I wish everybody great unexpected transforming events in their life coming up for their well-being.
Onward and upward.
Onward and upward. See you later.
Thank you.